Is this your first one? Yeah, sure. Before anyone joins.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Cool. Oh, we're live. Okay.
How's been your week so far, Ademide?
Week has been good. We started our external audits this week, so we are having a bunch of auditors from companies like EY, PwC come in and ask us questions in my environments, and they're going very well. So that's good.
Nice.
Do we know like the count of people that join, so we know when to start? So how do we know?
That is what I was going to ask as well because I really can't see him.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I guess we can start whenever we're ready. So up to you. Up to you, Yasha. You're the host here.
Okay. Hello everyone. Welcome to our Cyversity Black History Month event. So today we have Ademide. I'm gonna let you, Ademide, introduce yourself.
All right. So first of all, before I get ahead and get started, I'd just like to say thank you to you, Nasha, for hosting this, and thank you to Hakeem for even putting me out there for this. So my name is Ademide Osunsina. I am Nigerian, and I currently work for Salesforce as a senior security GRC analyst. Just a little bit more, if you care. I grew up in Nigeria, did most of my middle school slash high school in Nigeria, and then I came to university in Rochester, New York. That's where I did my undergraduate degree. I first started off with computer engineering, and then I moved on to computing security, which led me into the path I'm in right now. But yeah, brief introduction.
Oh, I kind of
Sorry.
lost you, Ademide. Are you there?
Yes, I am here. Can you hear me? Hello?
Hello? Okay, yeah.
Uh,
You're back now.
yeah, I can hear you clearly. Okay, cool.
So we didn't hear the last part of what you said because we kind of lost you.
Oh, okay. So I was saying that I went to university in Rochester Institute of Technology. I actually started off with computer engineering, and I switched to computing security. That's where I finished up school. Then I went to Salesforce, started my job here about 2 years ago. So
That's interesting. So, what are you doing with Salesforce?
um, I don't know if it's me, but what did you say? Say that again, please.
Oh, I was saying, would you like to tell us what you're doing with Salesforce right now?
Oh, yes, of course. So currently at Salesforce, I am a security GRC analyst, governance, risk, and compliance analyst. My job entails a couple of things, but out of those three things there, governance, risk management, and compliance, I'm focused in on the compliance aspect. So my day-to-day job is focused around making sure that the different products within Salesforce are compliant against the different frameworks that we test against or we audit against. And yeah, it involves interacting with lots of our engineers, a couple of external auditors and internal auditors to make sure that we're approved for various frameworks. Yeah,
That is interesting. Would you want to tell us what is governance, risk, and compliance?
of course, of course. So governance, risk, and compliance are an arm of security that really does focus on the management slash policies around, what governs the company's IT. So governance, risk, and compliance, kind of three different arms, though they are seen as one at times. But depending on how big the organization is, they're broken out. I'll start with governance. So governance refers to the processes and policies that ensure organizations' activities are aligned with the business goals of the organization specifically. So making sure we have those policies and standards in place that ensure that various teams are secure enough or actually going through the recommended approach when implementing specific solutions. Then we have risk management. Risk management will involve identifying, assessing, managing risks that could potentially affect the an organization's reputation. Making sure that we have a system that essentially manages risks and also assesses them very frequently to ensure that risks can either be avoided, maybe accepted, but generally mitigated. And then we can focus in on compliance, which is the part I actually handle for Salesforce. Compliance is mostly focused on making sure that we're in alignment with the different frameworks slash laws out there. There are a ton of laws, regulations, and standards that lots of organizations like ours have to adhere to, and the compliance team makes sure that we're following those rules, so we don't have litigation risk, or even at times just general reputational risk or business risk.
That's really interesting. Said you're more on the compliance team. So would you want to elaborate more on that one?
Definitely, I can elaborate more on compliance. So again, compliance again focuses on ensuring that organizations adhere to external laws, regulations, and standards. Um, but not just that. That sounds very textbook. Our actual goal for compliance is making sure that we enable business. You see, when you're an organization that you know builds top top products for big organizations elsewhere, lots of those organizations rely on you to either house the data or process very sensitive information. And because of that, they really need to trust you. Like they need to put a lot of trust in you. And one of the best ways to show that you're a trustworthy company um, is through gathering these different compliance frameworks and testing against them, having external auditors come in and evaluate your company. So you can essentially provide you a rating. You can see it as a rating that other companies can look at and say, okay, yeah, this is a good company that we can definitely trust. Let's do business with them. So compliance is actually very, very, very business. It's a very, very good business enabler because different countries, such different industries have a lot of frameworks that you might have to comply against, and if you don't, they just um, they just don't even look at you as an option to do business with. So you're losing a lot of money if you don't have these frameworks. So that's just a high level overview there. But when it comes to day to day, what am I doing within compliance? A big part of it, honestly, a big part of it is reviewing these different controls that we have to adhere to per product, per team, and making sure that we are meeting those requirements. This looks like talking to the engineers, making sure that, for example, in the SOC framework, um, making sure that we have the right access controls in place, making sure we have the right disaster recovery controls in place, making sure we have the right, encryption in use. So talking to them and establishing these different things, but also facilitating conversations between our engineers and the external auditors who come in because that's a big part of it. And at times, what we see is that our engineers are sharing a bit too much information with the external auditors, which we don't want to have happen because when they're given a requirement, you want to meet that requirement. You don't really need to go above and beyond. Although it's nice to at times, and we do that in certain situations. But yeah, so lots of it is around that and strengthening our control environments just to make sure that even if there was an update to various frameworks in the future, we would also be ready for that even before that at the times. So yeah.
That is so interesting, Ademide. So I'm sure most people would want to know how you ended up in this role. So would you want us to like would you want to tell us how you got into cybersecurity?
Definitely, definitely. So, how did I get into cybersecurity? That's a that's a question on how I got into compliance because I'm still thinking about that. But so cybersecurity for me has always been something very interesting. But before it became interesting, it wasn't actually anything. Like I didn't know what cybersecurity was. So how did I even like end up in maybe computing security for my undergrad? I would say maybe around the age of like 9, 10. I was given my very first computer. Very lucky age to have personal computer. I know. I was given a computer, and that really opened my eyes to like, whoa, we have technology like this. And from then on, I was already generally very curious, but from then on, I became extremely curious as to what more could be done with a machine like this. And it also gave me this mindset that like if something was built, something like this was built by human beings, and was created um, through code that's like replicable, then there's definitely a way to undo the things that were done. So from early on, I already had that mindset, and then when I went off to secondary school, which is like the equivalent of middle school here, we were put in, let's say, a Windows domain environment. And, back then I didn't really know what that was. All I knew was that when I logged into a computer, my computer looked like I logged into like my system looked like I logged into like a Windows 2003 um, machine. But when my teacher logged into the same computer, um, it looked like it was like Windows 7, brand new Windows Error, everything unlocked. And back then I didn't know what that was, but it ended up being like something I know what it is now, which is using group policy objects to, you know, modify the way a specific user group looks. So I saw that anyway, and I figured that I'm very interested in understanding why my account looks like this and their account looks like that. And just that curiosity led to me doing a ton of research as to, how do I elevate my account. And I didn't know what I was doing there. I was practically studying how to attack, networks, how to get into systems, how to, sorry, become like a system administrator. But, you know, through a series of activities, I did get my account to look like what I wanted it to look like. And that whole process was just so intriguing slash fun to me and rewarding to me that, I ended up doing more and more research and then eventually studying it in university. So, yeah. That's kind of what got me into cybersecurity. Just that like want to be able to unlock my account and do more with the account I was initially given, escalate my privileges.
I love it. Do you have like any advice for someone who is not really technical, and how can they get into GRC?
Do I have advice for someone who's not technical on how they can get into GRT?
Mm-hmm.
100%. 100%. It's funny because, going through university and studying cybersecurity and having to take courses like network security, systems administration, reverse malware analysis, programming for information security, assembly, all of these different technical related courses. I think all of those skills were really good foundations to essentially traverse through like the world of cybersecurity because as we know it's a massive field. It's not just like GRC in cybersecurity. You could be incident response, you could be a systems engineer, you could be a cybercrime analyst, you could be it's pen tester. There's so many different fields. But
Mm-hmm.
GRC itself, I would say it's very good to have that foundational knowledge. But I think the most critical thing you have to have, the most critical skill you have to have is just the ability to want to solve issues and
Mm-hmm.
also an ability to be curious. But you also have to like reading. Being honest, you have to like reading because a lot of people in compliance now within the space, within even my team, didn't all like study computer engineering or like computer security or anything like computing specifically. They just had the ability to audit, to ask questions, to want to understand, dig deeper into certain issues and find solutions towards those issues. So just being a critical thinker really does help you a lot. And I would say one course that helped me a lot is called Managing Risk in the Information Age, which like I can provide some more information about. Managing Risk in the Information Age is a course that Harvard teaches. It's a short-term course. I think it's about 6 to 8 weeks, and it just teaches you about security generally, holistically, how it's governed from the top down. Um, Teaches you about a few domains to teach you the different laws within the security space, how these laws should be enforced within an organization, and just learning like informational material like that. Nothing too technical. Can definitely give you a leg up in this space, and put you in an entry level in this space. Yeah.
Nice. So, I mean, I think there's always a way for people who are not really technical to get into cybersecurity, and there's so many avenues for someone to start their journey and start building their career in cybersecurity, even if they do not have a technical background. So, would you want to tell us what Black History Month mean to you as a Black person or as an African living in America and working in the United States?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So, just again, I did grow up in Nigeria most of my life. I spent some
Mhm.
time in London as well, and then I came to America for university. And I think that was kind of my first, or yeah, my first foray into understanding what life was like living as an African in America. Um, Black History Month is a strong month for me because it's a reminder to who I am. So as a reminder to where I've come from, Nigeria, and how hard it is to kind of break free of that space, come to a completely new environment, and try and mix them with different values, um, values that aren't very common to you back home, but values that you're trying to kind of adapt to make sure that you're putting yourself first in certain situations. So I think you know it just reminds me of what it takes to step into roles like this, step into this corporate world in America as well, and you know really just push yourself to work extra hard to remain in this environment, and how far other people have also come to be really successful within where they are. I think a lot of those things are really highlighted within this month for me, and it's something that I really do hold close to me because I know I'm far from home, but every day we're working extra hard to make sure that we're the best we can be for our people.
Beautiful. I feel like you're doing a good job, especially considering the journey that you've told us about and where you've come from and where you are right now. So, do you have any like certifications that you would advise someone who wants to get into cybersecurity to take, or any books or any recommendations on podcasts that you're listening to?
Definitely, definitely. So I would say for certifications, a really good one would be to take the Certified Information Security Auditor cert. It's a good informational level certification. It would definitely help you get like into the space, and a lot of I would say job postings out there would have that listed as a plus, maybe not a requirement per se, but as a plus. So that's a good one. You can also take the Certified Information Security Manager, and that would help you as well get in. I wouldn't say it's not as entry level as the Security Information Certified Information Security Auditor one, but it's a good course as well to take. And then there is the Certified Information System Security Professional. That's a little more tricky. That's something you do maybe once you've spent a few years in the industry and you want to pivot towards GRC. That would help as well. So I think those are good courses or certifications to get into this space. In terms of books that I
Mm-hmm.
read generally or have read in the past, I'm not the biggest reader like for novels. I like to read like news articles and just like short like um, informational topics on the internet, but I don't really read novels as much. Um, so over the past year or so, I've read Steve Jobs' autobiography, also read Elon Musk's, and I'm currently reading this book called Build by Tony Fadell, which I
Mm-hmm.
think is just very very, very informational, but hugely hard to build products, services, or business generally. I just have that mindset. So I always want to build, such produce new things, whichever space you're in. So that's what I'm currently reading. And I think you asked for podcasts as well.
Yeah.
A podcast I tap into a lot is Lex Friedman. Just just he interviews people who are prominent in technology, science, even times philosophical space, and some CEOs as well who are tech related. So I like listening to him. But yeah, that's general review of why I read such podcasts. Yeah.
That's really interesting. I really like your journey because you talked about being hardworking, being focused on the goal, and focusing on what you really want to achieve. Do you have anything else that you would want to tell our audience today?
Um, I mean, I would say that regardless of the space you wanted to get into, whether it was GRT or pen testing, when it's cybersecurity focused, it's not really just about GRT. Let's see, like network security, systems administrator, you could do reverse file analysis. Whatever it was, there's so many resources out there generally available free
Mhm.
for you to use. All that matters is how much you like it, how much you want to get into it. And I know even that itself could be tricky, like knowing what domain of cybersecurity you find yourself fully interested in. So I'd say, I mean, just spend some time looking into the various domains. There are too many resources out there for you to tap into to give you that insight that you need to just take the further step into the domain you like. But yeah, minus all that, it's a community like Cyversity here with really cool members who are willing to always share information. So please tap into the resources, the many resources around you, and don't forget to make sure you take that risk. Everything in life, involves a little risk for some reward. So yeah, that's anything I'd say. That's just my
Beautiful.
general.
That's nice. I would want to know if there are any questions in the chat. People can post your questions if you have any questions for Ademide today. But I also wanted to know if you had a mentor or someone who was leading you and helping you throughout your journey in cybersecurity.
That's a fantastic question. So I think across like from the few years that I've been into cybersecurity, I'd say I've had a few mentors. I might not call them actual mentors, but a few mentors. They just like they've just seen me and seen my interest, and like I've also reached out a couple of times, and I feel like maybe younger, but older people are always willing to give younger people advice when they see that they're very interested in something, and that's just what it was. Um, so early on, I was really interested in network security, and like configuring like routers and switches. So I actually happened to meet the founder of this ISP in Nigeria, and it's called Cyversity. And back then, so I was around maybe like 13, 14. Back then, he did give me lots of advice in terms of just navigating the space and giving me like small jobs to do here and there. That was really cool. Um, as of recent, I have a mentor in CyberSafe. CyberSafe is a company that helps out with like awareness, security awareness for companies. He definitely did was what provided me general life advice, never within security, just to help me push forward. So my parents are always going to be my mentors. But yeah, people have definitely helped along the way getting here. But I can't like really say anything about the names out here because they're not like mentors that are willing to accept a
Yeah,
bunch of
I
these.
feel like I think it's really important for someone to have another someone that is holding their hand, especially in the industry that they're trying to get into. So we have a question in the chat that says, "How do you stay updated with the latest regulations and standards in your industry?"
That is a good question. For one, um, I'll, I'll work for Salesforce, and we have to stay active. So we actually even have like channels that. So we have people who focus on specific things within the company, and there are people who are like subject matter experts for certain frameworks or regulations. So those people are already posting the updates and informing us on what needs to be done at a time. But in general too, like I like to still go on like websites and just read more about what's going on within the technology space, as well as um, the regs that standard space. So when things like new laws pop up, um, first to know. A good resource for this is actually CSO Online. I don't know if anyone has heard of that. CSO Online. It's a very, very good website that just gives you more information around what's going on with us, breaches, new laws, whatever it's security. So that's one way, or two ways I think I've just said now. Yeah, this is a predominantly how I stay informed through work, but also just my online research. But because I would say, can anyone hear me? Can you hear me,
Yes.
Asha?
Yes, I
Okay,
can.
yeah. But I wouldn't say I'm like a first respondent in terms of the person that has to inform like the team about a new framework. I wouldn't say like I'm at the forefront of this. I feel like for those people, they're probably getting notifications directly from the board that actually releases these laws and regulations. So yeah.
I love it. Um, I'll encourage you to keep your questions coming if you still have more questions. Um, I'm trying to see if we have more questions in the chat.
So like, I mean, if you like to, I can also like maybe discuss or bring up some more information around what even like compliance frameworks are. Like what compliance
Sure, we
frameworks?
can do that. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, sure then. So I would say the top frameworks that we look at, or just some common frameworks that we look at within our industry is the SOC 2. That's more, I would say, American based. A lot of American companies require a request for the
Mm-hmm.
SOC 2 when they're trying to do business with you. And the SOC 2 is a general framework for helping manage data, privacy, and security within organizations. I would say it's more generic. It's like a wide-reaching framework. It's not that deep. It doesn't like really go and test specific controls in depth, but it looks for them. The main goal of this control is to make sure that companies have their confidentiality, availability, integrity, security top of mind when they're
Mm-hmm.
developing new software. So that's the SOC 2, and that's a framework. Just bear in mind that's a framework. We have the SOX, the Sarbanes-Oxley Act. See, that's slightly different because it's actually federal law that we have to comply against. This is more for companies who are publicly traded and have to report financial data to regulators. The aim of this legal framework, now it's more of a law, is that um, it ensures that the data that's actually being reported is clear and is accurate, and it tries to prevent fraud. But just bear in mind the difference. The SOC 2 companies ask for it because they know that it tests strongly against like the CIA triad. While
Mm-hmm.
the SOX is actually the SOX is actually more of a law that companies need to follow if they're publicly traded. Now, we have like industry specific type laws. So we have the PCI DSS, and PCI stands for Payment Card Information, and then DSS is Data Security Standard. So we have the PCI framework that is generally like it's a set of 12 requirements that all companies that process credit card information typically have to maintain. Um, this is set by a bunch of companies who came together, a bunch of credit card companies, Visa, MasterCard, that came together and said that, we want to try and prevent fraud within this industry. Um, so we're going to, lay out a set of requirements and make sure that any merchant that's processing a certain level of transactions has to follow these laws to mitigate against fraud and to help protect credit card information. So that's another framework that you don't have to follow, but it's highly recommended that you follow. And in fact, in some situations, companies like MasterCard and Visa or Amex wouldn't even allow you to do business with them if you don't have this framework. Um, and then there are a bunch of other frameworks that you have to comply to do business in certain countries and within certain industries. And so you know, yeah, just a few. We talk about HIPAA, there's GDPR, there's TSAX, there are a ton of them. So, yeah.
I really love that. I'm also one of the people who are not really into tech, and I have I've learned a lot from you today, Ademide. So someone is asking, like, how far do you see AI taking over in the GRC space?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a question even also trying to explore, and we've asked ourselves within the company.
Yeah.
And it's still, I would say, it's still really big. It's not exactly like in place, but what I'm seeing that's already been on the market and is like readily available for everyone to tap into right now is security questionnaires. Security
Mm-hmm.
questionnaires are big parts of security in the sense of I'm a big company. Let's say I'm Salesforce, and I want to go do some business with Amazon, and I want to also. So I'm going to ask Amazon for a bunch of the compliance frameworks, make sure that they're following the right laws. But I might also have additional questions. And usually, when companies like Salesforce wants to do business with a company like Amazon, they're going to have a lot of questions around the security environment. So we send out a questionnaire to Amazon. Answering that questionnaire typically um, is a tedious process. And just imagine like Salesforce has a ton of customers. Customers are always asking questions. So being able to automate that process itself is something that the rise of GPTs have really helped with, because you're able to then throw in all the frameworks that you have, and like you're compliant against um, into a language model. It processes all that information and is able to answer these questions. So we have some applications out there that do that. But minus that, you know, there are lots of other ways. So I told you there were three different domains. There's governance, there's risk, and there is compliance. So let's say within the risk section, I think AI could be definitely used there to predict analytics, because within risk management there is quantitative and there's qualitative risks. So for at least that quantitative side of things, we are crunching numbers and analyzing what assets have the most risk, and which ones we can avoid. We can use AI to potentially like analyze those numbers and see what assets or what parts of the business are typically most affected by threats or vulnerabilities, and have you know more information on how we can mitigate those before they even happen. That's just one area I think AI can potentially help with. Within compliance, I think you can also use AI within, if depending on how mature your environment is. If you have the controls health monitoring, let's say, program within your company, then you could have AI plugged into that process and say, if we're monitoring the health of our access controls, and we're seeing that, for example, let's just say our encryption, and we're seeing like a ton of buckets are unencrypted within a specific team, you can have AI, crunch that number and see which teams have the most issues. You can also have it analyze that's our recovery documents to see if we can optimize our recovery processes. I think with the rise of GPT, we can do a lot of. It can help a lot, not do a lot, but help a lot. I still think you're going to need a good amount of humans to actually interpret that data and action on it. I think it can really help streamline processes. I can go on, but I don't want to talk too much. So please let me know if I've answered your question. Let me know if there's anything else you're thinking about that we can talk about.
I think you have. I think you have answered so many questions that people are asking in the chat. So if we do not have more questions, we might as well conclude. It looks like we do not have more questions in the chat. So as we conclude this insightful discussion on Black History Month and its relevance to governance, risk, and compliance, we would like to thank you, Ademide, for your time. And also, let's remember that diversity is not just a checkbox to be marked, but also a cornerstone of progress and resilience. And by embracing rich tapestry of backgrounds, experiences, and perspectives, we fortify our organizations against risk and also pave way for more and just equitable future. So we look forward to many chats with you guys, and also we're going to be celebrating women in the next coming months. So I hope we're gonna have more discussions through Cyversity and different platforms. So we hope to have you again, accept our invitations, and we hope to see you again next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining, everyone.